We hope you enjoy this episode of the Modern Divorce Podcast. But first, an important message for our listeners.
Embarking on a new chapter? Zach Nutzman of the Darwin Wall team at Realty One Group is your go-to real estate expert in Arizona, specializing in guiding couples and families through their real estate needs while experiencing a divorce. Modern Law's trusted partner, Zach, brings expertise, confidence, and compassion to your real estate journey. Let him help you navigate this challenging time. Zach Nutzman, your modern solution in real estate. Hello and welcome to a long-awaited episode of the Modern Divorce Podcast. I am your host, attorney Billie Tarascio, owner of Modern Law, joined today by Amanda Diacos, who is the client I told you all about, who had the, at this point, pretty famous alienation ruling here in Arizona. Many of you probably saw that video. Lots of you have wanted to talk about it. Amanda, welcome to the show.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. So for people who don't know, I'm just going to give you a brief overview and then we're going to dive into the details. Amanda lost custody of her daughter following a fluke DUI. Is that right?
Yeah, I had a DUI and my ex found out and went and got emergency custody, and
at that
that's
point,
how it all began.
That's how it began. He then proceeded to engage in some pretty heinous alienation. And years later, Amanda was able to show that to a judge, and the judge analyzed alienation, his behavior, as one, alienation, and two, as domestic violence under Arizona statute. Big deal. Pretty aggressive ruling from this judge out of Navajo County. But before we get into that, let's take us through exactly what happened.
Well, basically I had gotten my DUI. Sorry, I get a little emotional when I think about it. Anyways, got it. He took custody. Basically since like the first, I would say 8-9 months, he was okay. He let me have contact, visitation, but then like shortly after that, he decided I wasn't good enough to be her mom. And but anyways, so fast forward like 3 years later, I was finally able to get on my feet and afford a lawyer, and he was such a good lawyer. I want to give a shout out to him anyways, but he was really good. But I got her back, and basically he was saying really awful, nasty, mean things to me when I would like try to call or text. And he was actually telling her like that I didn't want to talk to her. So she believed that kind of stuff. So she was like really upset, and yeah, sorry, I'm trying to catch my composure. Anyways, she was upset about the whole thing. So basically for 3 years I fought and begged and pleaded and asked him, hey, can I see our daughter? And he wouldn't allow it. Got the lawyer, went to court, went straight to trial. My lawyer said that we didn't even need to go into mediation or anything like that because we had already went through multiple different mediations. And so it went straight to trial, and both of our lawyers showed up, and we just showed the evidence, and mine was there and his wasn't. And they saw that he was trying to hide like his tax returns, his money statements. He only had like a select few different text messages between us, but I had like everything.
Okay.
I mean,
so let me if it's okay, let me guide this discussion a little bit. So after you got your DUI, he filed for emergency custody, and he was granted emergency custody. Now, the two of you don't live in the same place, right?
No, we actually live like 2 hours away from each other.
So one of you was going to be the custodial parent, and because of this DUI, he was granted custody. Now, were you given parenting time?
I was given parenting time, and it said in the court order that he was not to restrict it. I can call whenever I wanted, and I could visit whenever I wanted. I just had to give 24 hours in advance. And I would give him like at least a week or two I would have to plan it out because I had my DUI, so I'd have to find a ride just to even get down to where she was at. So I had to actually plan all this out, and he would be, oh, okay. But then, like, the day before, I would remind him, and he'd say, oh, no, we're not even going to be in town. Like, he would just make sure he wasn't around, just
So
awful.
so one problem was that the order that gave him custody did not give you a specific schedule.
No.
It allowed him to have way too much discretion.
Hmm.
And he really abused that discretion because the court order said that the parties, here's what it said: the court directed the parties to work out visits every 2 weeks until the next hearing.
Hmm.
And then whenever you would try to work out parenting time, he would just be unavailable.
Yeah.
You were also supposed to have phone calls, right?
Yes, and he would not allow him, like, nothing. And he lives at his parents' house, and like, they just wouldn't even answer the house phone because they have caller ID, and they just wouldn't answer it. So it just became this whole thing. He had
Right.
a power trip, I think.
Sure, absolutely at a power trip, and it has definitely backfired. So
Yeah.
the court found that father failed to comply with that order, giving which ordered him to work out arrangements. So the father failed to comply with the June 25 final order by not making arrangements with Miss Diacos to have parenting time with a minor child. And that after June 25th, 2020, final order, mother did not willfully miss parenting time. She was unable to attend because she didn't have a vehicle. The court found that father's failure to follow the prior order was willful. So first, he was found in contempt. Then the court addressed the issue of a modification. And here, the court granted you now became the custodial parent.
Yes.
And he still has parenting time every weekend. Is that right?
Yes, from Friday afternoon to Sunday afternoon.
Okay. And how old is your daughter?
She's 11. She'll be 12 in March.
So from 8 to 10, you didn't see her?
8 to 11.
8 to 11, you did not see her. And she was being told awful things about you.
Yeah.
What was he telling her?
Oh, mommy's a drug addict. Um, let's see, mommy doesn't love you. Sorry, she's sitting right here, so I'm just like, I don't want to say too much, but oh, what else? She would, like, ask to call, and he'd be like, yeah, let me text your mom. And then he'd be like, oh, no, she says she doesn't want to talk to you, like, stuff like that. And, like, he would tell me, like, oh, you're just a cunt, a whore, a blah blah blah, like, just awful mean.
So how confusing that must have been for her.
Well, yeah, because she's, like, taken from me and then told, hey, mommy would come see you if she wanted to. And, like, the whole time I am trying to come see her. And I don't know why he's trying to hurt her in order to hurt me. And that's what I just don't get about it. Even though everything that's happened between us and what he's done to me, like, I still don't want to take her away from him. And now that she knows everything, she tells me, she's like, mommy, I really don't want to go see dad. I'm mad at him. And I said, Bailey, it's understandable, but he is your dad and you guys will work this through and you just got to give it time. And, like, that's just how I think parenting should be handled,
Well, it's
no
the
matter
best,
the
it's the best
circumstances.
you can do. You're not making excuses for him. You're not
No.
lying to her.
Yeah.
But you are honoring their relationship.
Hmm.
And this is what's so hard for parents to understand. How do you not lie to your kids, but still encourage them to have a relationship despite of what happened or what may have happened? Because everybody has shit happen.
Yeah. And you only get one dad, one mom. Well, not always one. You get step parents and stuff. But in all reality, if both parents want to be involved and they're good parents on whatever end, they should be involved at least to a point. That's how I believe it should be.
So she has siblings at your house, right?
Yes, I have my 18-year-old daughter, and then I have a 5-month-old daughter. So, yeah.
That must have been very hard for them as well, your
Yeah.
18-year-old.
Yeah, it was hard for even Bailey and Jasmine, like, just to even not see each other, and just because they were kind of close. They're 6 years apart, but they were still kind of close. And then just to be ripped apart, now they're just trying to build that little bit of relationship back, but it's working. So
Let's talk for a minute about the DUI. How did you overcome that to show
oh
the court that they didn't have to be worried about this happening?
well, basically after it happened, I had to and then Bailey got taken away from me and stuff. I had to figure out a way to work and stuff. So I moved closer to my work that I could either walk to or get it picked up from and stuff. But I just basically just kept trying to see her, and it didn't work out. So I was just kept trucking along and, putting money away and trying to keep my nose out of stuff it shouldn't be, because that's what got me into trouble in the first place. And I just had high hopes. In the end, I really was like, I was super depressed throughout the whole thing, but I had high hopes. I was like, this is my daughter. Like, this is gonna happen. I think that's just really what kept me going.
So you
I
stayed really
did,
focused on
and I did
knowing.
a couple. Yeah, I'm sorry. I did a couple like counseling programs and oh, some other like trauma stuff, just little things to help me realize like what path I was actually going down and whatnot. But I just stayed focused.
Did you have to do AA or SoberLink, or did you have to prove to the court in any way that you were no longer drinking?
Uh, no, I did the online class course for them, the drinking course for them. But other than that, no, it got turned put down to a misdemeanor and all that. So I got off pretty easy. It wasn't cheap, but it was I mean, I did my work and I did all that, but I didn't let it destroy me and continue down like a drinking path or doing more negative things for my life. And
Mm-hmm.
this all happened right at the beginning of COVID. Like, this happened January 2020, and then March of 2020. Everything up here, but anyways, started to shut down, and like the courts were shutting down. And I knew if I like went in to take care of any of this, it probably would have just been this long drawn out process. So I just, put my head towards what I needed to work towards, and I did it, and I got everything I needed to taken care of.
So one of the findings that the court made was that so it said the lack of agreement between the parents is due to mother's past alcohol use, and made the lack of the parties' agreement not unreasonable or influenced by an issue not related to the child's best interest. Of father's justified mistrust of mother's drug use due to her past drug use. Currently, mother is clean and sober, and father has or is engaging in conduct that has distanced or tried to turn the child from or against mother. How did you prove that to the court?
Well, I didn't have any drug use. That was his accusations. I didn't have drug use. Honestly, I wasn't. And I wasn't really an alcoholic. I just did something really stupid one night and I shouldn't have done it, and I did. And I guess by proving it, I showed them like, hey, I wasn't getting into any more trouble. I have, I have my fiance and my new baby, and we're got our house together, and just I think just proving that I am stable and um, not what he was accusing me to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the DUI and stuff, it went into an emergency motion. So that's what he was trying to claim, like I was a drug addict and all this, but
Mm-hmm.
he couldn't prove any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And he even tried to have our 11-year-old say that I was a drug addict. And they asked her what drugs, and she said, oh, all kinds of different drugs. And she couldn't even like say what it was that it looked like, the drugs that I was doing that she supposedly saw. So
Okay.
just,
So
so
so there was a true campaign by her father to tell her that you were this awful human, and she believed it, and she was interviewed. And
Yeah.
the court talked about that. They said in the in-camera interview, the child expressed being bonded with father, paternal grandmother, and cousins. So we don't know what she said about you.
No.
Unless, okay, you don't know.
No, they didn't tell us anything, basically what she had said or anything, but and they interviewed her in private. But I guess that somewhere in there it says the judge could kind of tell that she was being
Yeah.
told what to say, you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
So it says in the in-camera interview, the child expressed not being bonded as much with mother. Father has not encouraged. Father has encouraged this non-bonded relationship by ignoring mother's calls, interfering with mother's parenting time. Father has not made arrangements for mother to have parenting time as directed. As for the
mhm.
interaction between the child and mother's unborn baby, the mother expressed that she wanted the child to get to know her new sibling. So the court could see through what your daughter was saying and what your ex was saying and really saw it for what it was.
Yeah. Well,
Why?
because I had all the text messages and all like everything. I had all the proof on my end, you know, like I think she was just a really good judge and she did her she did her job, you know. But you also have to do things correctly, like input like that into exhibits and stuff. And I would have never known to do that if I didn't have my lawyer, honestly. That's just a lot of stuff that goes into if you want to win a case, like either you need to talk to a lawyer or have a lawyer or something because like there's a lot of information that you could have, but you might not be able to show the judge because you don't input it correctly, you know?
Yeah,
Like, well,
you're
you know.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But it's
Yeah.
important for people to hear that. And the other thing is, like, you had to wait until it was really, really, really bad, until you
Yeah.
had a lot of evidence. You didn't go in at the beginning. You didn't go in when it could have been gray. By the time
Mhm.
you got in, it was really bad. Now, most of the time, I recommend people get like you engage as quickly as you possibly can because there's this risk that the child will be poisoned against you. But you have been able to get beyond that. How have you done that?
Um, Man, I just keep so at first she's like standoffish, but you just kind of have to keep showing her like, "Hey, I love you." Like you just got to remember and like she is now. She's like, "Oh man, mom, you're like best mom." Like I remember now. You know, you just have to and you don't talk bad about the other parent. Even if they want to, you're there to listen, but you're not there to talk bad about the other parent. But you just show them like unconditional love and she just knows now, you know.
I think a lot of parents in your situation struggle with being angry at the child who's rejecting you.
Yeah.
So, and I know it's really easy for me to sit here and say, don't do that, but like it had to have
Mhm.
been really, really hard.
Yeah, it was, but I felt more like sadness than like hurt. But sadness for her because honestly, I think it helped that I grew up without my mom wanting to be in the picture. And I had like different stepmoms in the pictures and I had some really bad ones and then I have a really great one, you know, and I've been through like a lot of different things. So I feel like I understand it on a level that maybe not other people will understand it because to have like both parents in your life, I feel like that's such a blessing. Whether I like him or he likes me or not, like, oh man, we don't even see each other at drop offs and picks up. Like his mom meets me there with her, and yeah, so and I'm fine with that. I don't want to see him either.
Yeah. The court was pretty hard on dad. They
Yeah,
found that he had that he misled the court to try to persuade the court to give him legal decision making or parenting time preference by not disclosing your child's poor grades. He gave old grades that were good, but not current grades that were bad. How did you show that?
I didn't even know that. I went into court and I didn't know because he didn't tell me anything or anything. And my lawyer, he brought it up and he was like, "So your daughter's 11." And he's like, "What grade is she in?" And he's like, "Fifth." And I was like, "No, she's supposed to be in sixth." And he's like, "So it looks here like she got held back a whole grade." And that's when I was like, "Oh my goodness." And like that came out in court. I don't know where he got that from, but I didn't even have that information,
Got
So,
it. Got it.
yeah.
So the court analyzed his behavior as domestic violence, and we should jump into that. It says, in this matter, mother alleges that father has told mother and mother's family to call him for visits to set them up, and then father ignored mother's calls, ignored maternal aunt's calls, ignored the daughter's calls, and would not call back to set up parenting time. That he belittled you, called you names such as bitch, loser, dumb, motherfucking ass, and communicated for you to fuck off. Says negative things about you to your daughter and your sister, turned the child against you, exerted control over the child, and isolated the child by not allowing her to attend public school and isolating her from everyone except for father's family, distanced the child from mother, turned the child against mother by saying bad things, disregarding the court orders, creating his own personal requirements that mother pay $4,000 in child support and do drug tests to prove you were not unfit. And the court found that that equaled a course of conduct, which equaled domestic violence.
And
Well,
not only that, it's neglecting Bailey and her needs, like neglect is a form of domestic violence.
It's a very progressive reading of domestic violence. The literal meaning is only the crimes. But if you look at the crimes listed in the criminal court broadly, neglecting emotional well-being, harassment, isolation, those can all be domestic violence. But this judge made this very progressive ruling, and your ex has filed a notice of appeal.
Yes.
We don't know yet what he's going to allege. Do you know who he's hired for that appeal?
Oh, it's the same lawyer, Dennis Bassie. He's, yeah. I don't know. I'll keep my opinion to myself.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no problem. No problem. So at this point, you have sole legal decision making. Dad has every weekend. How has it been to try to co-parent with this person who's treated you so badly?
We do not talk. At first, until we got her a cell phone, he was not allowing calls. Like, I'm like, we just went to court for this. What are you doing? And I have to tell him, and he does not care. Like, or he'll be like, fine, like the next day, like unwillingly, like have her call. I'm just like, come on. Or he was like constantly texting. He's like, why hasn't she called yet? Why hasn't she called yet? And I'm telling you, like, it was multiple times a day, like first thing in the morning, like 7 a.m., just insane stuff. And I'm like, Josh, you got to quit this. Like, quit. I will have her call you, I promise. Like, so we got her a cell phone, and now it's a little bit easier communication. And I'm just like, deal with your dad yourself. I'm not trying to be mean. I just,
Right.
but she doesn't even want her parenting time with him right now. And I have to be like, you gotta go, you gotta go. And she's like, well, I'm almost 12. Can I decide? And she knows that because he like kept telling her, well, you're almost 12. You can decide. The judge will let you decide if you just tell her like you don't want to live with your mom. So she has like this thing in her head. Well, if I just tell the judge, she won't make her live with her dad. And like, that's not really how it is.
No,
You
it
still have to
isn't.
go.
Obviously, because
Yeah.
the child told the judge that she wanted to stay with her dad, and the judge was like, I don't think this child is
Yeah.
of suitable age and maturity to consider her opinion.
No.
Like she could just see
No.
through it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a damn good judge.
Yeah, honestly, I was scared going in because I had heard some things, and I guess you can't really judge a book by its cover or judge people by what you've heard. But I heard she was just like mean, not mean, but just like she don't put up with no crap, and like I was kind of scared going in, but she was a nice lady. She heard both sides. She wasn't like not hearing either side, She really was. She was a nice woman, so.
Well, and she didn't cut dad off. Dad has
No.
every weekend. But
Yeah.
now your daughter gets to have a relationship with both of her parents. And
Yeah.
by erring on the side of the parent who will allow the contact, that's in our statutes. Our statutes in Arizona really support a relationship with both parents. And when you have one parent who's shown an unwillingness to support that relationship, even if the other parent sort of sucks, if you're not willing to encourage that, you risk losing decision making.
Yeah. My thing is like, why wouldn't you want to encourage that? Unless there's some sort of jealousy behind it. I'm just being honest. And that's how I feel about it.
Amanda,
And
you are
nobody has
assuming,
to agree, but
well, you're assuming that adults act with emotional maturity and selflessness, and they don't all act like that. So
no,
you're
I
objectively
usually do.
correct. You're
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. And, it's something that I've actually had to grow into. And I think the last 3 years of even just how everything happened, I think it actually did help me grow into a bigger person, like mentally, honestly, it did. So
Well,
it
your only
sucks.
option when you're in trauma
Mm-hmm.
is to process it and grow,
Yeah.
or use
Let
other
it,
coping
yeah.
mechanisms that bring you down.
Yeah. I'm not perfect, but I will say I'm pretty proud of myself, to be honest
Yeah,
with you.
you should be. You
Yeah,
should
I'm not
be.
making excuses for myself. I went through a lot of stuff, like my dad had died, and then like another huge thing happened in my life that was very personal, happened right before the DUI. And that's not an excuse, but that was like what started it. And I think I could have went further into the rabbit hole by losing my daughter and losing everything I had. But instead it like really sucked. And I was like, no, I I don't want that. I want my life back. So
What message do you have for other parents out there who are being alienated?
my message to you guys, honestly, is just try to keep positive. Keep all the evidence you can. Try to be civil, and honestly, don't hide anything. If you like, even if you have something to hide, don't hide it. Just keep it out in the open and try your hardest every day to see your child and fight your hardest. Because you know what? I didn't give up. It took 3 years. So don't think that because it didn't happen tomorrow, it won't happen at all. That's, I guess, my advice to others. So
Amanda, thank you so much for being
yeah.
here, for sharing your story, for even giving me permission to share your story months ago. It has truly impacted people all over the country.
Well, if anybody needs to have any questions or anything, like, I don't know how that would go about, but I don't mind helping if they have a question. So
If you all have enjoyed this episode of the Modern Divorce Podcast, make sure to like it, download it, share it, leave a review. And if there's another topic that you want us to cover here at the Modern Divorce Podcast, let me know. Thanks so much for listening to the Modern Divorce Podcast. Remember, anything you've heard today or anything you read online is not the replacement for actual consultation with an attorney and does not create an attorney-client relationship. Even if you called in and we spoke to you, you were anonymous and we don't have your details and you have not become a client of Modern Law. However, we would love to speak with you, or you should seek out the advice of legal counsel or counseling or any other expert near you. And if you have an idea for a show topic or you need to speak with an attorney in Arizona, you can reach me at info@mymodernlaw.com.